The great hall of the Galaxy Council buzzed with cold formality as the representatives from dozens of star systems gathered. The room was vast, filled with towering pillars of shimmering crystal and floating data displays that glowed with cosmic energy. At its center stood the delegation from Earth, humans whose faces betrayed a mixture of hope, determination, and anxiety. They had come with a simple mission: to defend their place in the galaxy. Over the past century, humanity had made strides. New technologies, peaceful treaties, and even contributions to interstellar knowledge. Yet the Council looked upon them not as equals, but as an unpredictable threat. The head counselor, a tall being with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to pierce into the soul, addressed the assembly. Humanity has shown remarkable ambition, they began, voice resonating through the chamber. But ambition without restraint is dangerous. Your species defies orders, disregards alliances, and acts on impulse. Murmurs of agreement echoed around the hall. Humans exchanged nervous glances. Ambassador Helena Ruiz, Earth's lead envoy, stepped forward. Her voice was calm but fierce. We seek only to live and grow. We have offered knowledge and friendship, yet we are met with suspicion. We ask you to judge us by our deeds, not by fear. The council remained unmoved. After hours of debate, the final vote was called. It was unanimous. Earth was to be exiled, cut off from the galactic network. No longer would humanity have access to shared technology, trade, or communication channels. They were to be isolated, left to fend for themselves in the vast loneliness of space. The weight of the verdict settled over the human delegation like a suffocating shroud. Back on Earth, the news hit like a tidal wave. Media channels blinked with the grim headlines. Governments scrambled to respond. Panic threatened to break through the surface, but beneath it, something more powerful stirred. For centuries, humanity had survived the harshest of conditions: natural disasters, wars, and the cruelty of their own making. Now, faced with rejection from the stars, they did not crumble. Instead, a fierce determination took hold. In the great cities from New York to Beijing, from Lagos to Sao Paulo, people gathered not to mourn, but to unite. Leaders called emergency sessions. Scientists and engineers were summoned to the most secure facilities. Every resource was funneled into one question: how could humanity survive and thrive without the Council's support? Among them was Dr. Amara Chen, a quantum physicist whose work on faster-than-light communication had once been dismissed by the Council as too experimental. She now became a symbol of hope, her team racing to crack codes and theories that might make humanity's exile a temporary setback rather than an endless sentence. Military commanders, too, saw the writing on the wall. Earth's defenses, once modest compared to galactic powers, needed to be strengthened. Plans were drafted to protect Earth and any future colonies from possible threats, both known and unknown. But it was not just about defense or survival. The exile became a crucible, forging the new spirit. Rival nations set aside centuries-old conflicts, forging alliances that once seemed impossible. Borders blurred as humanity embraced the idea that their future lay not in division, but in unity. Children born in the shadow of exile grew up hearing stories not of defeat, but of resilience. The stars, once forbidden, became goals to reach, not distant dreams. And somewhere deep in the labs and factories, a quiet revolution began. A revolution that would one day show the galaxy that exile was not the end, but a beginning. Because humanity would rise. They would adapt, innovate, and build a future no council could deny. And they would never forget the day they were cast out, because that day marked the birth of a superior empire. The verdict of exile had shaken humanity to its core, but it also did something unexpected. It tore down walls that had long divided them. Across Earth's continents, from sprawling megacities to scattered rural communities, the shockwave of the Council's decision sparked a transformation. Gone were the old rivalries. Nations that had once seen each other as competitors, sometimes enemies, now found themselves bound by a shared fate. For the first time in centuries, Leaders came together not to debate borders or resources, but to forge a united front for the survival of their species. In a historic summit held on the rebuilt United Earth spaceport, representatives from every country gathered. The air buzzed with urgency and hope. It was not just a meeting of politicians, it was the birth of a new era. "We cannot rely on old divisions," said Chancellor Amina Diallo, her voice steady but passionate. "The galaxy cast us out, but it has also shown us the strength of our unity. We will survive, and we will thrive, together." Science and technology became the lifeblood of this newfound alliance. Laboratories across the globe buzzed day and night. Research teams that had once competed now shared data freely, accelerating progress faster than anyone thought possible. Dr. Amara Chen's quantum physics team, fueled by resources and fresh talent, pushed the boundaries of known science. Their work on quantum tunneling promised a future where distance was no longer an obstacle, where ships could leap across light years instantly, shattering the limits imposed by the speed of light. Meanwhile, engineers and roboticists perfected autonomous drones and AI-controlled fleets that could scout, defend, and terraform new worlds. These machines worked tirelessly, preparing for a future where humanity would no longer be confined to Earth alone. But the greatest change was something less tangible, a shift in mindset. The fear and bitterness from exile began to transform into fierce pride. Stories of human resilience spread like wildfire. Artists, musicians, and writers captured the spirit of a people refusing to bow. In the streets, citizens embraced a new identity, not just as individuals or nations, but as members of a united humanity. The global anthem was no longer tied to a single country, but a declaration of hope and determination. "We are the heirs of 1,000 struggles," a young poet declared in a broadcast that reached every corner of the planet. "The council cast us out because they feared us, but we will rise because we believe in each other." Yet, the challenges were immense. Resources were strained, and old scars sometimes threatened to reopen. Some factions doubted that unity could last, fearing that internal conflicts might undo everything they had built. But time and again, humanity proved resilient. When crises arose, natural disasters, supply shortages, or technological failures, people rallied, lending hands and hearts to rebuild. The Quantum Forge initiative, once a risky gamble, began to yield results. Prototype vessels tested faster than light jumps, sometimes with unexpected outcomes, disappearing and reappearing in new locations, shattering the rules of physics as they knew them. Every success brought fresh hope. Every failure taught new lessons. And as the years passed, the galaxy beyond Earth watched quietly. For though humanity was exiled, they were no longer broken. They were a flame burning brighter than ever before, refined by trial, united by purpose, and ready to step beyond the shadows. From the ashes of rejection, a new force was rising, a force that would one day remind the galaxy why humanity could never be ignored. Earth's exile forced humanity to challenge the very limits of science. Traditional methods, constrained by council regulations and galactic politics, were abandoned. In their isolation, Earth's brightest minds were free to explore bold ideas, once deemed impossible or dangerous. At the heart of this revolution was the Quantum Forge initiative, a daring project that sought to unlock faster-than-light travel through quantum tunneling. This concept had been whispered about in secret labs for decades, but had never been truly realized on a practical scale. Dr. Amara Chen stood before a bank of glowing monitors, her eyes sharp with focus. Around her, a team of physicists, engineers, and AI specialists worked in perfect synchrony. The laboratory hummed with tension and hope. Quantum fluctuations detected, one of the AI systems reported calmly. Stability parameters holding steady. The room held its breath as the prototype vessel, nicknamed the Phoenix, prepared for its first live test. Unlike conventional engines that relied on fusion or antimatter, the Phoenix's drive aimed to create a tunnel through the very fabric of spacetime, bypassing the speed of light itself. "Initiate jump sequence," Amara ordered. Seconds later, the vessel shimmered and vanished from the lab's sensor grid. For a tense moment, silence reigned. Then, data streamed back. Coordinates confirmed, stable arrival, no damage detected. The team erupted into cheers. They had done it. Humanity had crossed a threshold, a barrier that even the Galaxy Council's most advanced fleets had not fully overcome. This breakthrough wasn't just a technical marvel, it was a declaration. Humanity was no longer limited by the Council's judgment or the laws of physics as they had been taught. They had forged a new path. News of the success spread rapidly through Earth's united networks. Across continents, celebrations erupted, but so did a renewed sense of urgency. The quantum breakthrough meant nothing if humanity stayed confined to Earth. The next step was clear: expansion. Within months, shipyards around the world began constructing a fleet equipped with the new quantum drives. Autonomous drones and AI-controlled fighters were integrated into the design, creating a force capable of both exploration and defense. But the challenges were enormous. Quantum tunneling was unpredictable. The Phoenix's jump had been nearly flawless, but every test brought new variables and dangers. Some ships vanished for hours before returning, their crews disoriented but alive. Others returned damaged, their systems scrambled by strange cosmic forces encountered in the quantum void. Despite setbacks, the scientists learned quickly. Each failure was analyzed meticulously, fueling improvements that pushed the technology forward at a staggering pace. Meanwhile, Earth's leadership prepared for what came next. Plans were drawn to send colonists to distant, uninhabited planets identified by deep space surveys. Terraforming technologies, previously limited by Council restrictions, were unleashed to turn barren worlds into livable habitats. The human fleet was no longer just a dream, it was becoming reality. But Earth was still vulnerable. The Galaxy Council, blind to the rapid progress on their exile planet, assumed humanity was broken and isolated. They underestimated a species forged not just by survival, but by determination and innovation. As the Quantum Forge initiative surged ahead, whispers began circulating in galactic outposts, tales of strange energy signatures, vessels that appeared and disappeared without warning, and a silent power rising beyond Council reach. On Earth, Dr. Chen looked up from her console, eyes bright with both exhaustion and pride. "We're not just catching up to the galaxy," she said quietly. "We're about to lead it." And with that, humanity's journey from exile to empire truly began. With the quantum drive perfected, humanity's fleet slipped silently into the depths of space. No grand announcements, no diplomatic fanfare, just a quiet, determined movement into the unknown. The first jump took them beyond the familiar borders of their solar system, past neighboring stars that no human had ever visited before. Their destination was a cluster of barren planets orbiting a cold, distant sun, worlds once ignored by the galactic community as worthless. But humanity saw opportunity where others saw emptiness. The terraformers arrived first. Swarms of nanomachines unleashed their slow, deliberate magic, altering atmospheres, seeding microorganisms, and shaping barren landscapes into breathing, thriving worlds. These new colonies were not just survival outposts. They were the first seeds of a burgeoning empire. Fleets of sleek, AI-driven ships patrolled the space lanes between colonies. These vessels were crafted for speed, stealth, and precision, capable of responding instantly to threats or emergencies. They moved like ghosts, unseen by sensors of distant powers. News of humanity's silent expansion leaked slowly. At first, dismissed as rumors or mistakes, then growing undeniable. The Galaxy Council was caught off guard. Their arrogance had blinded them to the rapid growth of the Exile's new empire. Where they expected despair, they found innovation. Where they expected weakness, they found strength. Humanity's empire grew not through conquest, but through careful planning and stealth. Colonies were hidden behind cloaking technologies, shielded by asteroid belts and electromagnetic interference fields. Supply routes twisted through uncharted space, invisible to the prying eyes of alien powers. But humanity did not seek war, not yet. Their diplomats sent encrypted messages to other civilizations, invitations to join a new alliance built on respect and cooperation, not control. Many dismissed these offers, unwilling to recognize a species they had once condemned. Still, some listened. Trade agreements were quietly established with independent star systems, exchanging resources and knowledge that bypassed Council control. These alliances, small but meaningful, helped humanity grow stronger. On Earth, the people watched their new empire rise with pride and hope. The stories of exile became tales of triumph told in schools and homes. The children of this new era dreamed not of returning to the Council, but of carving their own destiny among the stars. Yet, the shadows held dangers. Unknown to humanity, their expansion did not go unnoticed by hostile forces lurking in the galaxy's darker corners, pirates, mercenaries, and rival empires who saw a rising power as a threat to their own ambitions. At one remote outpost, a distress signal flashed. A mining fleet under attack by unknown vessels. The colony's defenses scrambled, calling for reinforcements. Within hours, a fleet of human ships materialized from the quantum tunnel. The attackers found themselves outmatched by technology they barely understood. With precision strikes and advanced tactics, the humans repelled the assault, capturing several enemy vessels. This was a warning and a promise. Humanity's empire would defend itself fiercely. Exile had taught them that survival depended on strength, unity, and readiness for the unexpected. Back in the council chambers, unease grew. Reports of human fleets operating in secret routes, of colonies appearing and disappearing, and of new alliances threatened the old order. The Galaxy Council's confidence began to crack. But humanity moved on, quietly, steadily, hidden among the stars, growing stronger with each jump, each new world, each silent conquest of space. The exile was over. A new chapter had begun. The Zilari mining fleet was deep in uncharted space, scanning the asteroid belts of Tyros 9 for precious minerals. The Zilari were seasoned explorers and shrewd traders, confident in their dominance over the outer systems. To them, the rumors of human colonies beyond Council reach were mere legends, tales told to scare novices. But what they found on Tyros 9 was anything but a myth. As their scanners swept the planet's surface, a massive structure appeared on their displays, a gleaming megastructure unlike anything in the Zilari archives. It was an engineered marvel, sleek, angular, and humming softly with energy. This was no primitive outpost. This was a city, alive, vibrant, and fortified. The Zilari fleet commander ordered a cautious approach. They sent a diplomatic envoy to open communication channels. Moments later, a calm human voice echoed through their comm systems. "We are not your exiles," the message began, steady and unyielding. "We are sovereign. This world belongs to us." The Zilari envoy was stunned. The Council had declared humanity exiled and isolated, forgotten in the shadows. But here, before them, was proof that humans had not only survived, they had built an empire. The Zilari sent a delegation to negotiate. They expected fear or desperation, but they found something else: confidence, discipline, and technological mastery that rivaled the greatest fleets in the galaxy. Human representatives greeted them with dignity and resolve. Ambassador Kira Solis spoke for the humans. "We offer peace and respect," she said, her eyes steady, "but we will defend what we have built. We seek no conflict, but we will not return to servitude or submission." The Zilari, cautious but intrigued, exchanged data on technology and trade potential. The humans' quantum drives, cloaking fields, and AI defenses far surpassed anything the Zilari had seen. It was clear humanity was no longer the reckless species the Council once feared. They had evolved into something formidable. Yet the meeting ended with no formal alliance. The Zilari left Tyros 9 with a warning. Humanity's rise would not go unchallenged by those who profited from the old order. Back on Earth, news of the contact sent waves of excitement and apprehension. Humanity was no longer invisible. They had stepped into the galactic spotlight, and with it came both opportunity and risk. For the Council, the encounter was a shock. Their assumption that humanity was broken and isolated was shattered. The Exile had forged something new, a civilization capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's great powers. But the Council was not ready to accept this change. Behind closed doors, debates raged. Some urged diplomacy, others whispered of containment or even war. Meanwhile, humanity's empire continued its silent growth. Colonies multiplied, fleets expanded, and alliances with independent systems deepened. The humans moved carefully, assertive but measured, aware that every move could trigger conflict or alliance. In quiet moments, Ambassador Solus reflected on humanity's journey. From exile to empire, they had fought not just for survival, but for respect. Now, the galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready. "The galaxy underestimated us once," she said softly. "They will not make that mistake again." The stage was set for a new chapter in galactic history, one where humanity would no longer be cast out but stand among the stars as equals. News of humanity's resurgence spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Council's halls, once filled with quiet confidence, now echoed with whispers of fear and uncertainty. They had exiled Earth believing it was a broken, disorganized species, no longer a threat. Yet, reports from border systems told a different story. Ships with no known signatures slipped through hyperspace lanes, colonies sprang up on forgotten worlds, and advanced technology, once deemed impossible for humans, became evident in skirmishes and trade negotiations. The Council's intelligence networks struggled to keep pace. Councillor Valen, a senior member known for his cold pragmatism, slammed his fist on the conference table. "We underestimated them. This is not the desperation of exile. It is a calculated rise, a challenge to our authority." Others nodded, their faces grim. The Council chambers filled with debates and accusations. Some argued for immediate action, containment, sanctions, or even preemptive strikes. Others cautioned restraint, warning that provoking humanity could ignite a wider conflict. Meanwhile, human diplomats watched the turmoil with quiet satisfaction. Their strategy of silent expansion was working. By the time the Council realized humanity's strength, the Empire's foundation was already unshakable. In secret, the Council dispatched envoys to gather more information. A team infiltrated human-controlled space, only to return stunned by the scale of their progress. Vast colonies thriving under harsh conditions, fleets equipped with advanced AI, and a society united by purpose and resilience. "Humanity is no longer a threat to be dismissed," the lead envoy reported. "They are a force that demands respect and fear." Back on Earth, the news of the Council's unease was met with a mixture of pride and caution. Leaders understood the precarious balance. They had grown too strong to be ignored, yet still too new to openly challenge the old powers. General Marcus Voss, commander of the Human Defense Fleet, tightened his jaw. "They may plot against us, but we have prepared. Our defenses are ready. Our people stand united." The Council's unrest fueled a wave of innovation and vigilance among humans. Research intensified, fleets expanded, and communication systems were fortified. Every colony became a fortress, every ship a symbol of humanity's determination. Yet beneath the surface, a deeper transformation was underway. The Council's rejection had ignited a profound shift in humanity's identity, from a scattered species to a collective empire with a shared destiny. The galaxy watched, uncertain. Would the Council adapt to this new reality, or would they cling to their old ways, risking a conflict that could reshape everything? For now, humanity held the advantage, a phoenix risen from exile, burning brighter than ever before. And as the Council debated their next move, the humans prepared for whatever came next, ready to defend their empire and carve their place among the stars. Tensions between humanity and the Galaxy Council simmered beneath the surface, but the fragile peace shattered when a coalition of Council fleets made a surprise incursion near one of humanity's outer colonies. The humans had long anticipated retaliation, but had hoped diplomacy might still hold the line. Instead, their worst fears were realized. Ships bearing the Council's emblem darkened the skies above the mining world of HFY. General Marcus Voss stood on the command bridge of the flagship Sentinel, eyes narrowed as tactical data flickered across the holo display. "They've underestimated us once," he said quietly. "They'll regret it." The Council's fleet sought a swift victory, disabling communication arrays, crippling defenses, and forcing a surrender. But humanity's empire had been forged in exile, tempered by hardship, and united by unbreakable resolve. The colony's defenses activated with precision. Automated turrets and shield generators flared to life. Fighters launched from hidden bays, engaging enemy ships with calculated strikes. The humans fought not just for territory, but for survival and dignity. The battle was fierce. Pulses of energy lanced through space as fleets maneuvered with deadly grace. For every Council ship destroyed, humans sacrificed a fighter or drone. The odds were against them, but the defenders refused to yield. Amid the chaos, Ambassador Kira Solis coordinated efforts from the communication hub. "Hold the line," she urged. "We fight not just for HFY, but for every human life in this galaxy." The turning point came when the Sentinel launched a daring quantum jump behind the Council fleet's formation. Using advanced stealth and AI tactics, human fighters struck at vulnerable points, crippling command ships and sowing confusion. Caught off guard, the Council fleet faltered. Without centralized command, their attacks became disorganized. The humans seized the moment, pressing their advantage until the enemy retreated. The victory was hard-won and costly. HFY lay scared, but it stood defiant, a beacon of humanity's will to endure. News of the battle spread quickly across the Empire. Far from a broken exile, humanity had proven it could stand against the galaxy's mightiest powers and win. The Council convened an emergency session. Voices clamored for retaliation. The dust of battle had barely settled when a new reality dawned across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer exiled or dismissed. Their victory at HFY had sent a clear message. The humans had arrived as a force to be reckoned with. Across Council chambers, the old order trembled. Some factions pushed for peace, recognizing that war with humanity risked destabilizing the entire galaxy. Others clung to pride and power, unwilling to accept a new balance. On Earth, the leaders of humanity stood united, their eyes fixed on the future. Ambassador Kira Solis addressed a global broadcast, her voice steady and inspiring. "We were cast out and told we were weak. But from exile, we have built more than survival. We have built an empire. One forged in unity, innovation, and resolve. Today, we extend a hand of peace to the galaxy. Let us stand together, not as rulers and subjects, but as allies." Her words echoed through countless worlds, stirring hope and cautious optimism alike. But the peace humanity sought would not come without conditions. The Empire demanded recognition of their sovereignty and respect for their place among the stars. Council leaders hesitated, but the weight of reality pressed on them. They could not ignore the human fleet's growing reach or the colonies blossoming on distant planets. A new era required new understanding. In secret negotiations, humanity and the Council worked toward a fragile treaty, one that promised cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. The galaxy's old powers would no longer dictate humanity's fate. Meanwhile, humanity's empire continued to grow, not through conquest, but through collaboration. Independent systems found new markets and partners. Science flourished as barriers fell. The promise of exploration expanded beyond any single species. Children born on terraformed worlds grew up hearing stories not of exile, but of courage and reinvention. They dreamed of stars not as distant points of light, but as homes waiting to be discovered. General Marcus Voss reflected on the journey from exile to empire with quiet pride. We have proven that humanity's greatest strength is its spirit, our refusal to be broken. As the first joint fleet of human and council vessels launched on a mission of exploration and peace, the galaxy watched with wary hope. The exile was over. Humanity had not just survived, they had transformed the galaxy itself. A new dawn had arrived. And this time, humanity would lead the way.